right. Well, thank you everyone for logging in and joining us this morning. My name is Alexis Marcus. I'm part of the admissions team here at MIT Sloan. I'm joined by a number of my colleagues that will be answering all of your questions on the back end today and helping out with the session. We're really excited to be here to talk to you about our MBA specific application. So the first thing I want to share is the mission of the MIT Sloan School of Management. And I think that this is a really important way to kind of kick off every conversation that we have about our application or our programs, because it really is built into everything that we do and how we look at applicants at MIT Sloan. So the Sloan School of Management, the mission is to develop principled, innovative leaders who improve the world and generate ideas that advance management practice. And so all of our curriculum is built into that. And we're really looking for those people that have the skills to do that throughout the application process. So at MIT Sloan, we do have a number of full-time programs, and a portfolio of programs that's here on the screen, ranging from a number of years of work experience all the way, or excuse me, from no years of work experience all the way up to 25 plus years of work experience. So today we're just focused on the MBA. So if you are questioning about other applications or other programs, we do have these sessions for every other program. So if you're applying maybe to Sloan Fellows, which has a deadline later in October, or if you're applying to, MFin or Business Analytics, which will be January deadlines, we will be having application tip webinars specifically for those programs. And we will talk about those applications during those programs. But today we're just going to be focused on the 2-year MBA. As you can see on the screen, the years of work experience really range from about 3 to 7 years, with our average being about 5 years of full-time work experience prior to joining the program. We do have the opportunity for you to do some joint or dual degree programs with the MBA. One of them is called the LGO program. This allows our students to get both an MBA as well as a master's in engineering in one of our engineering disciplines. LGO does have a separate application, and that deadline is in November. Much of the application is the same as MBA, but there are a few additional components. And if that's something you're interested in, we're happy to answer questions by email afterwards, and we can talk about that. We also have dual degree programs with DUSP, which is the Department of Urban Studies and Planning, and the Harvard Kennedy School for an MPP or an MPA. For both of those programs, you do need to apply concurrently to DUSP as well as Sloan, HKS, as well as Sloan, and you need to apply to Sloan in round 2, so submitting your application in January. And again, I'm happy to answer any specific questions on those programs as well. Excuse me, I also have to apologize. I'm a little under the weather, so I have a little cough as we're going today. So the first thing I want to show everyone on the call is a quick snapshot of our incoming class. This is the class that just matriculated at Sloan for the MBA. So this is not on the website yet, so you're seeing it really for the first time, and we're really excited to share it with you. So this year's incoming class had 450 MBA students. That includes the MBA student, 407 MBA students and 43 LGO students. Because LGO, again, is that dual degree program, they're getting both an MBA as well as the MS in engineering. They are very much integrated and part of the MBA cohort. So one of the things I think is really wonderful about this slide and kind of showcasing, our incoming class is the diversity of the background. So when you look at these undergraduate majors, when you look at these pre-MBA industries, there are people coming really from everywhere. And with a 450 size class size, you are going to have a lot of different perspectives. You also see that we have a lot of global diversity, global perspectives being brought to the classroom. So as a student, you're going to be learning not just from your professors and learning, how to advance those management practices that we talked about in the mission statement, but you're going to be working with your peers very closely that came from different industries, that came from different parts of the world, and can help you think in a different way. And also help you solve problems in a different way. And that's just going to make you a stronger leader at the long run. So you can see some academics in terms of medians, median GPAs, median GMAT, the GMAT focus score, and just some ranges that we have from this last incoming year. So I want to jump into reasons why to pursue an MIT Sloan MBA. So really, we are at a very unique place because we are MIT, and we are part of that greater institute. So you're really at the intersection of business and technology. As an MBA student, you do have the opportunity to take up to 3 elective courses at the greater institute, also cross-registering at Harvard. So that really opens up an array of opportunities to learn more during your MBA and complement your degree to make sure that you're getting all of the skills that you need to succeed into whatever career it is that you want to go into, whether that's staying in the same industry, and climbing that corporate ladder, or maybe you're pivoting and doing something completely different. You really will have the opportunity to take classes that will help you advance in those ways. You'll also be developing your leadership skills. We are looking for future leaders, and we are not necessarily looking for you to have those leadership skills now. We want to train you on those leadership skills. And so really just looking for people that have the potential to be successful leaders. As I mentioned, kind of upping your career, pivoting, or maybe even start doing a startup. And then the network at MIT is unparalleled. It's something that you become part of for your entire life. And it is a global network that really can, open up a lot of doors for folks in their future careers. And then our academic offerings are amazing. We have an incredibly flexible curriculum. So you really can chart your own path in our MBA. We have a 1 semester core, which all MBA students are required to do. You take that same group, same group of classes with everyone that starts the MBA. And then from there, you really make your own schedule. You can choose to do a certificate. You can choose to do kind of make your own schedule, take some of those elective courses across the Institute, as I mentioned, participate in experiential learning through our action learning labs. We have a ton of things that you can do, almost, too much. It's so sometimes people are saying that they wish that we had more time than just those 2 years, those 4 semesters. But you have to kind of be mindful of putting together what it is that you want to get out of the 2-year experience. Excuse me. So in terms of the application timeline, the round 1 deadline is coming up really soon. So we are about a week or 2 weeks away from it today. So the deadline's the 29th. And just to kind of give you a quick snapshot of what it would look like if you were to apply on the 29th, we would immediately start reading applications the following day. So deadline for submitting all of your materials, including your letters of recommendation, is 3 p.m. on the 29th, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Then we will start reading applications through October, and then you'll hear from us about a decision by the 27th of October. You'll hear whether or not there's 3 things that could happen. You could be invited for an interview, you could be waitlisted without an interview, or you would receive a final decision that you were not granted, moving forward in the process for this year. If you're invited to interview, it will be a virtual interview that will take place sometime in the month of November. They do start the 30th of October, so sometime in the month of November through the first week of December. And then final decisions will be released on December 11th. So he would hear from us by then. So just a quick overview of our evaluation process. We receive about 5,000 applications for the MBA program every year. And so as you saw on a couple slides ago, our class this year was 450 students. We review every single application that comes in. So every applicant that applies to us, we are reading, AdCom is reading your file and looking at everything that you've submitted. There's no cutoffs. There's no minimums. That's a question that we get all the time. Like if I have a certain GPA or if I have a cutoff, are you not even going to look at my file? We look at every file that comes in and review it. We interview about 30% of the overall pool throughout the year across the 3 rounds. And we admit around 20% of those applications and see the class of about 450, including the LGO class. So what are we looking for? What are we evaluating when we think about MBA applicants? So we have a professionally trained admissions committee that reviews all of our applications. This is comprised of some of our staff members as well as contract readers that have been with us for a number of years and are well versed in our competency model. So what we're looking for in applicants. And we really kind of separate things on 2 categories. We look at demonstrated success and then leadership skills and personal attributes. So we're curious about how you work in teams, how you problem solve, how you communicate, and how you adapt to change. So when you're thinking about putting together your application and going through all the components that we're going to walk through in just a minute, you really want to be mindful about what is the story that I'm telling in using these specific examples, making sure that you're really showcasing how you have done specific things, how you have succeeded, how you've had impact in your career to date. And so those are the things that we're looking for and we're scoring you on to move forward in the process. So we are MIT, so we love data. And so we do actually plot and score folks on this XY axis for demonstrated success and personal attributes. And what you're seeing here are just kind of scores of folks on that XY. And then the folks that move forward are these folks that are in the upper right quadrant. I will say that this is just a representation. Doesn't mean that you absolutely need to have these numbers. So don't think, oh my goodness, if I don't have a 6 on demonstrated success and a 4 on personal attributes that I won't be moving forward. That's not true. This is just to just give you a visual showcase of how we think about the scoring, and the scoring can change by the applicant pool year over year. Excuse me. So the application checklist for this year, and I want to walk through all of these components together. So you can see on the left-hand side the different deadlines for the 3 rounds, and I've also listed out that LGO deadline. There's only one LGO application deadline, and that's in November. So if you are thinking about LGO, definitely make sure you mark that down. And just know that if you do apply to LGO, and you're unsuccessful, you're automatically considered for MBA. So you cannot submit an MBA and an LGO application together. You are automatically considered just for MBA if you're not successful in the LGO consideration. So every single applicant is going to submit everything that is on this page, and I'm going to walk you through all of those things right now. So the first thing are academic records and relevant coursework. So we are asking for your transcripts. You do not need to submit your official transcripts. You can submit unofficial transcripts during the application process, but you will need to submit the official ones if you're admitted and matriculate. That's part of our verification process. The most important thing with transcripts, they should be complete and they should be legible. We absolutely need to be able to read them. If you cannot read them when you upload them, we cannot read them when you upload them. So make sure that that's the case, that you can visibly see the grades. What are we looking for within the relevant coursework section and the academic records? We're looking for your academic aptitude, your comfort with quantitative work. A lot of people ask, do I need to have a STEM background? Do I need to have quantitative undergraduate training in order to come to MIT Sloan? No, the short answer is absolutely not. If you remember back on that class profile slide, we have people coming from humanities, from English, from a number of different liberal arts backgrounds. And really, if that's the case and we're worried about your quantitative background and your quantitative work, we might ask you to do a preparatory class. But 9 times out of 10, I will say that most people that are applying for the MBA that come from those backgrounds have that quantitative comfort from their work experience. And so we're looking at that whole picture to make sure that we understand the applicant and really like where their successes lie before making any sort of decision like that. So you also have the opportunity to tell us about any certificates that you've completed or additional non-degree coursework. So if you've taken a Coursera course or an MIT X course or, any kind of additional course. Some people have taken MBA math. Some people have taken online preparatory classes for, different math classes or different programming classes, different programming languages. We really just want to understand your mastery of any area and also your intellectual curiosity since finishing your undergrad. Similarly, if you already have another master's, you will need to include all of that information as well. So test scores. Test scores are required for every applicant to the MBA program this year. I know we previously had test waivers. We are not offering any test waivers this year. Every single applicant must have a GMAT Focus, or a GRE score in order to submit their application. We have no preference on which one is submitted, and you are absolutely welcome to submit an in-person version of that test or a remote version. But again, no test waivers, and the test is required for everyone. Third thing is the organizational chart. This is a visual depiction of where you fall within your organization. So we're really looking for you to create something here. This is not supposed to be downloaded from your HR website or something that's just kind of printed off. It really is a quick snapshot visually of where you are, who you're working with on a daily basis, who, if anyone, reports into you, who, if anyone, is an indirect report or do you indirectly report to. If you are able to, if you have had progress within your career, you could showcase that within the organizational chart. We've seen some really wonderful organizational charts over the years, and there are some examples on our website linked through the application. And it really just helps us get that understanding of, who are you working with? Who, what is the progress that you have made within your career? And then when we potentially are interviewing you, we might have conversations about some of the interactions. If you could circle yourself in red, that would be very, very helpful. We really want to be able to see where you fall. If your letter of recommendation is the recommender themselves, the writer is on the org chart, maybe you can highlight them in some way so we can understand that. That's not required by any means because sometimes your recommender is not on your org chart and that's completely fine, but just make sure you circle yourself in red. And you really want to make sure that your chart itself matches your employment section. So, couple questions that I get all the time about org charts. I just switched jobs, like, right before the deadline. Should I submit an org chart from my old job or should I submit one from my new job? You should submit the organizational chart from the job on the day that you apply to MIT Sloan. So if you are just started a job, I want to see the org chart from the job that you just started. By the time we get to that interview phase and we're really like looking at those interactions and having questions about that, you will have been there for a number of months, or at least a month or so. And so we want to understand what you're doing and be able to learn a little bit more about that role during the interview. Other questions we often get for entrepreneurs. I work by myself. I'm a solo entrepreneur. How do I put this on my org chart? You need to get creative. You need to tell us kind of like who you're interacting with. So you might be interacting with like a board of directors, or you might have advisors, or you might have clients. All of those things are important things that you can kind of showcase within that visual. For consultants, you can absolutely do an organizational chart of your most recent projects that you've worked on to show us who you're working with over at the client site, as well as your firm. We don't need a visual of the firm itself, but really of that project. And then the final group of people that we typically get a lot of questions from are military. And whether or not they can redact information or any, confidential information, confidential titles. It's okay to give confidentiality, to redact any confidential information from the org chart, but we do need to kind of still see that structure. And then I also often get asked, should I do it from, my civilian job or, my official job? You can submit both. If you are in the military, you want to submit both organizational charts. All right, the resume. For the MBA, it is a one-page maximum. So we do not want to see a resume that's longer than that, which means that you might need to be concise. Some of you have 3 to 7 years of full-time work experience. So on your resume, you really want to focus on your impact. We want a very easy to read, clear format resume that is just sticking to a standard format. You don't need to get creative with layouts and pictures. We need to be able to quickly reference the information and see those successes. So our suggestion is to stick with education, work experience, and then any additional information. We love to see some of those personal interests at the bottom of your resume. It's a really fun way for us to learn a little bit more about you. You can definitely share like extracurricular opportunities that you've had, anything that you're doing outside of the workplace. But just make sure that when you're thinking about the application itself, you're really focusing in on those quantifiable accomplishments. We don't need to know that, you checked your email every day, for instance. Save that line and put in a real success that you have had within your career. The cover letter is an opportunity for you to maybe expand upon one or more of those successes that we were just talking about. So we have a specific prompt where we're asking you to seek a place in the future in the MBA class. And this is your opportunity to sell yourself on why you're a good fit for MIT Sloan and why MIT Sloan is a good fit for you. So we are looking for you to include specific quantifiable accomplishments within this cover letter. So you can expand upon one of those bullet points from your resume, or maybe you'll take the opportunity to talk about something else. One of the best pieces of advice that I can give you for the overall application is to think about the application as a whole. Do not think of it as individual components. You want to be able to put together a comprehensive story. And when you read the application as a full application, as the admissions committee will do, are there holes in it? Are there things that we would say, that seems to be missing, or like, do we have a question? So you want to be able to put together a story, and each component needs to complement the other one. When we think about the MIT Sloan application as a whole, it's a lean application. We have designed it that way intentionally so that you absolutely can think about how you're putting those materials together and highlighting those successes in the way that makes the most sense for you. The application is, you can think of it kind of like as our appetizer. Get us to want to know you more through the interview. So in the cover letter, just share some recent personal and professional examples to demonstrate that success and why you're a good fit for MIT Sloan. One of the things that we do not ask for in the cover letter, we do not ask for it anywhere on the application for MBA, are your future goals. We believe that past performance is the best predictor of your future performances and success. That being said, I will say a lot of people talk about their goals and why they want to pursue an MBA because it just naturally falls within the conversation of why Sloan, or why they're getting an MBA, and that's okay. But you do not need that. If you don't have that, you're not really sure why you're pursuing it, or you're exploring your options during the MBA, it is okay, and we're not looking for you to tell us exactly what your goals are. All right, the recommendation letter. We only require and only accept one letter of recommendation. And so when you think about who you're going to ask to write your letter of recommendation, you really want to be thoughtful about it. So you can see all the questions that we ask the recommender here on the right-hand side of the screen in the light blue box. And when you're thinking about who to ask, who can answer these questions favorably, detailed, who knows the most information about you, and ask that person. It is more important that we get more information from them than their title. So a lot of times people are really excited to ask like the CEO of a company, or the president of a company, whatever it might be. If that person does not know you well, that is not a great person to ask for your letter of recommendation. You should be asking your direct supervisor. If you have told your employer that you are pursuing an MBA and you're applying, we would love to see a recommendation letter from that direct supervisor. If you have not, we also completely understand that. And so you might want to ask from a different professional source, whether it's someone that you work with that you can confide in, or someone from a prior position. It does need to be a professional letter of recommendation. We do not accept personal letters of recommendation. We don't want to see it from a family friend. We don't want to see it from a family member. And just remember to ask your recommender early. They should be writing this letter on their own, and you should not be helping them with it in any way. For the recommendation letter, you go into the application, you put in their information, their name and email address, and we do ask that for as much as possible that you are using a professional email address. So not a Gmail address, not a Yahoo address. We're really looking for that professional email address, and then they will get instructions on how to upload their letter, and that will get attached right to your application. And you will be able to check that on your status page to see if we have received it or not. Again, you'll want to ask them early because we do need to get it by the deadline date. So we also ask for contact information for 2 additional references. You can think of this as folks that you would have asked for letters of recommendation if we had let you submit more than 1 letter of recommendation. We may or may not reach out to these people, and it's not good or bad if we do or do not reach out to them. They're people that can speak to your professional aptitude. We can ask additional questions. We can reach out to them really at any point during the evaluation process, but we won't call them out of the blue. We will send an email, coordinate a time that's mutually convenient to ask questions. And the questions that we would ask them are very, very similar to the questions that we asked your recommender. So in this box here. One note is that if your references do not speak English, we will employ the translator, so you don't need to worry about that. All right. We also have a short answer question within the application. It's called The World That Shaped You. And the prompt is, how has the world you come from shaped who you are today? Please use this opportunity to share more about your background. We love this question. It is an opportunity to learn more about who you are. A lot of the application is lean, and we are asking about your accomplishments and your professional background. But this is really that opportunity to talk more about your background and tell us who you are, like where you came from, like who makes you, what makes you you. And so this is always a really fun short answer question for us to learn a little bit more about what makes you a unique individual. It is limited to words only. We do not want any external links or videos as part of this short answer question. All right, getting on to the videos. So we have one video statement that you can prepare in advance. It's a 60-second video that you have to upload, and it's introducing yourself to your future classmates. So within this video, you're really putting a face to a name and letting your personality come through and sharing, who you are. Think of this as your elevator pitch to your future friends when you walk in the MBA class. Who are you? Why are you at MIT Sloan? Excuse me. Um, and thinking about what you would say to those classmates in the future. You do not want to take this opportunity to reiterate your resume or tell us, just about your career. That's not probably how you're going to be introducing yourself to your future friends. And so you really be thinking about that when you're putting together the video statement. The video statement does need to be 60 seconds unedited, so you can't put the different pieces together. We do not want any captions. We do not want any music. But you can really be doing anything that you want. So we've definitely seen videos where folks are sitting in front of the camera, just like I am, or, holding up their phone and doing a video that way. And we've also seen people outside or bringing us along on some of their hobbies or activities. Just, use your judgment when you're thinking about, what kind of video you're submitting, what your background looks like, what you're wearing. If we cannot hear you, or you could if we can't hear you in the video, so when you're playing back the video to yourself, if there's a lot of background noise or you can't understand what you're saying, we can't either. And we don't want captions. So that is probably not a good choice for a background, and rethink kind of how you've done that. We are not looking for, Hollywood style videos here. We're not looking for the next movie maker. So don't think that it has to be super fancy. We really just want to get a better sense of who you are and, how you're communicating. So speaking of communications, we also have video question 2. This is a brief video statement that you're responding to a randomly generated prompt. So unlike video statement 1, where you're uploading your video question 2 appears within the application menu when you finish about 80% of the application, and you will be walked through a number of prompts before you get to it to test your microphone, to test your camera, and make sure that everything is working. And then it will ask you, are you ready? And it will say, are you sure you're ready? And then you will say, okay. You will, a randomly generated question will appear on the screen, and then you will have 10 seconds to review the question and prepare. And then the camera will automatically turn on, and you will have 60 seconds to record. So these questions require absolutely no advanced preparation. We're really looking to assess your communication skills, and if there is evidence of any competencies that we're looking for when we think about that demonstrated success and the personal attributes that we talked about earlier. There's no right or wrong answer. And my biggest piece of advice, I don't want anyone losing sleep over video question 2. A lot of times you come up with an answer on the fly, right, after 10 seconds. And then later that night you're going to bed and you're like, I have a better response. That's not what this is intended to be. It's really just how you communicated in the moment. And so even if there's a better response, that's completely okay. And we're not looking for you to give that better response. We really just want to kind of hear those communication skills and understand how you would respond to someone, right off the bat. Couple quick things. We often get asked, can I do another take of video question 2? The answer is no. It's one and done for video question 2. You should not have any technical glitches because you have that, like those testing phases. My biggest piece of advice is when you're getting ready to do this part of the application, if there's folks, with you in your home or your apartment or wherever you are, just make sure that they're not coming in and interrupting you during that 1 minute, because it's over when it's over. But again, the questions range from, a couple of examples of the questions are, tell me about a time that you struggled with a teammate, or tell me about a time that you took on a hard project. And so it's really just giving us a little bit more into your background. And again, those communication skills. So if you are invited to interview, so again, 30% of our applicant pool is invited to interview. And if you are one of those 30%, you will receive an interview invitation, and you will schedule your interview on Zoom, or excuse me, you'll schedule your interview to be on Zoom. And you will be required to submit one additional short answer question before the interview itself. And that will need to be submitted online 24 hours before the interview. The interview itself will be 30 minutes with a member of our admissions committee, and we're looking to ask you a lot of specific behavioral-based questions to get more examples on your work success, your impact, and who you are as an individual. So some last minute quick tips before we switch over to your Q&A. Follow the directions. Our team has been so thoughtful about putting together this application and really trying to answer every question that you could possibly think of in our instructions. And we had put them there for a reason. So if it says to do something, please follow those instructions. If it says 60 seconds, we mean 60 seconds. If it says 1 page, we need 1 page. So, we're really looking for reasons to admit you. So make sure you're following those instructions. Think of us as your advocates, that we're here to gather that information. So putting together that application, that you're looking at everything as a whole and reviewing it as a whole rather than those individual components. Be yourself. There is absolutely no magic ticket on what we're looking for in applicants. We are really looking to seat a class of diverse individuals from diverse backgrounds, from undergraduate, institutes and undergraduate studies to pre-MBA industries from all around the world. And then finally, apply early. But I'll add the caveat, apply early and apply when you're ready. I do not want anyone to rush the application. If you're not ready for September 29th, don't rush it. Wait until round 2. But if you have all your materials together, you will be in a position that there are no seats filled right now, right, for the incoming MBA class next year. And so, just by pure math, if you apply in round 1, we admit people in round 1, and then some of those seats become taken for the incoming class. But I will say round 1 and round 2 are still our biggest rounds. Round 3 tends to be significantly smaller. But I would say if you can get your materials ready between now and January, you're in really great shape. All right. I think, yep, we're at Q&A time. Maddie, what do we have?
We have a lot of questions. Also, thank you, Alexis. You provided a lot of great information that answered a lot of the questions that we had in the Q&A. So that's
Awesome.
wonderful. One of the topics that we didn't talk about much in today's presentation are reapplicants. So can you talk a little bit about how a reapplicant should approach the application? We ask for new information and new details. Folks are curious, does that mean every single application component, including the World That Shaped Me essay? Can you talk a little bit about how reapplicants should approach all of the components?
Yeah, great question. And so reapplicants are in a unique position in the sense that we are asking them to fill out an entirely new application. We do recognize that if you just applied in round 3, and now you're applying in round 1, only a few months have gone by, right? And so not that much has probably changed in your role or your life. But the unique thing, and the thing that might be a positive benefit to you, is that you actually will have 2 applications, 2 completely, like the real estate of 2 applications to submit and have the admissions committee review. So they will review your application from last year as well as the new application. That being said, it's in your best interest to submit new materials for that, right? So in terms of the letter of recommendation, if you've already submitted a letter of recommendation from your direct supervisor, and there's really nothing for that person to add to the letter of recommendation, ask someone else. Now you have two letters of recommendation. In your updated cover letter, talk about additional impact or additional successes that you've had. I do anticipate that much of your resume will be the same. I anticipate that there'll be a lot of overlap in both applications, but to the extent that you can use that real estate on that new application to showcase additional things, you have additional places to add data points. And many of our reapplicants are successful in future rounds. So I would say just utilize what we're giving you and take advantage of that kind of double space to showcase, your successes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Alexis.
Mhm.
Some of the other questions we had were about the cover letter, and I know you talked in a lot of detail about it. Can you just reiterate what we're looking for or expecting in a cover letter?
Yep, absolutely. So the cover letter prompt is asking you to seek a place in the MBA class at MIT Sloan, and telling us, why you're a good fit for Sloan and why Sloan is a good fit for you. So we're looking to understand a little bit more about, what you are hoping to gain from an MBA. So this is not equivalent to what are your professional goals, and that is where people often get confused. So we don't need you to tell us like, I want to go into consulting or I want to go into tech. If you have that and you want to put that in there, that's completely fine, but we're not looking for that. And that's not something that we're, scoring on. What we're more looking for, like, what is it about an MBA that's going to help you, succeed in, your future career? Like, are you looking to gain certain skills in the MBA? And how is MIT Sloan going to help you with that? Are there certain classes? Are there certain extracurriculars? Are there certain professors? Anything to kind of showcase to us, like, why is MIT Sloan the place that you want to get your MBA? And then similarly, you also want to be including why are you the right fit for MIT Sloan? So, what about you and your experiences makes you a good fit for our classroom, for our cohort in a future MBA class? So, thinking about your impact in your professional career. So, talking about some really specific examples of where you've had those successes.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Another component that we have questions on is the letter of recommendation. As we
Okay.
think about that, are we looking for candidates to have their recommenders be folks who are C-suite, folks in their organizations, folks that have seen more recent growth or long-term growth? What are we looking for in a recommender?
We are not looking for anything in the recommender. The recommender is not the person that we're focused on. The person that we're focused on is you as the applicant. So I can go back to that slide, maybe. See, talking. Read these questions on the right. Who can answer these in the most favorable and detailed way for you? If that person is in the C-suite, then they're in the C-suite. If they're not in the C-suite, that's okay too. We really want details, examples. What we don't want in a letter of recommendation is a one page of superlatives of how wonderful you are with absolutely no data to back it up. So if you are asking someone that doesn't have examples of, why you stand out from others, or, give an example of an impact that you've had on the organization or the group or a person, and can't give these representative examples, that is not the person to ask for your letter of recommendation. But again, title is irrelevant.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Another component that there are questions on is the organizational chart. For
Okay.
folks that might be in consulting, in an externship or secondment, how should they present their organizational chart?
Yep. So as I mentioned, for consultants, you can do like a recent project. If you're on secondment, you can absolutely do an org chart from your secondment. That's fine too.
Awesome. Thank you. We have a few questions. One of our application components is relevant coursework. If folks don't
Mhm.
have some of those courses, how else might they be able to demonstrate their quantitative skills for the program?
Yeah, a great question. So you will see that not all of those classes that are listed in the relevant coursework section are quantitative in nature. Like I think there's communications and organizational behavior. That is more aligned with our first year core curriculum classes. So they're not all quantitative, and we don't anticipate that everyone will have them. Those are not prerequisites. Like I cannot stress that enough. They are not prerequisites. If you have quantitative coursework that is not from that list, we are still looking at your transcripts. So if your transcripts are showcasing quantitative work that's not necessarily pulled out in that relevant coursework section, we're still going to see it. If you have quantitative work that's non-degree coursework, you can still list that out in the non-degree coursework section or certificates. And then similarly, if your quantitative experience and exposure has been in your professional experience, we will see that within your resume, within the employment section. We will understand that you have that quant comfort level based on, hands-on on the job training.
Thank you. In terms of test scores, do we require official test scores by the application deadline?
Yeah, great question. And I didn't answer this. So no, the answer is no. You just need to do a self-reported score for the application itself. Of course, that will be verified if you're admitted and later matriculate at MIT Sloan. So you can just put that in. So if you had taken the test, like the day before or whatever it might be, you could just put in your test score. And then once we get it, it will get verified on the back end as an official score. But you can certainly put it in as part of the application.
Awesome. I know we answered some questions about recommenders. In terms of references, does
Mhm.
this have to be someone that we're reporting to? Could it be a direct report of the applicant? Who should be a reference?
Yeah, it should be professional for sure. Definitely can be someone that reports to you, a colleague that you work with. I mean, we don't anticipate that you have many direct managers, right? So, or, hopefully they're writing your letter of recommendation if possible. Um, yeah, so really anyone that knows you from a professional capacity. It can be from a prior job as well.
Awesome. And I know we're just at time. We've answered a lot of the questions, so I'm hoping you can
Awesome.
wrap up with just one last tip as folks
Yeah.
approach the application.
All right. So on this slide, my biggest tip is this one here. Be yourself. We are really excited to get to know you as an individual and understand how you are going to contribute to MIT Sloan and how MIT Sloan is going to help you become that principled, innovative leader that we are looking to, foster to advance those future management practices. So, really excited to meet you in the application process. And if you have questions at all, please stay connected with us. You can see our email address here. Send us any email questions that you might have. Apply early. I will say if you're hitting submit on September 29th at 2:58 Eastern time, the system can be slow. So to the extent that you're ready at 9 a.m. Eastern time, please go ahead and hit submit. But good luck, and we look forward to meeting you.